Adhyaasa Drishti, Section 4, Swanubhutaya Adhyasasya Niyamaha Sanshayaha Nivaritaha. Means the doubts get resolved in this section. What doubts? Whatever doubts you have about superimposition. The principles of superimposition were introduced by Adi Shankaracharya, and a lot of people who came from the Dvaitam path had a lot of questions, lots of doubts. How can superimposition happen this way? How can it happen that way? So there were a lot of doubts, lot of questions. Adi Shankaracharya answered them intellectually. Remember, the audience was a Dvaitam audience, so he's answering intellectually. The USP of this Adhyaasa Drishti book is we are attempting to see this first in our Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana and then in our open-eyed self-inquiry. Clear? So both in dream and sleep I should be able to see it, as well as waking. When all three areas are conquered, then only will there be no room for doubt. If, like the Dvaitam path walker, if you only attempt to see it from the waking level and do not attempt Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana, there will always remain room for doubt. Is that clear? Ensure that each of the points that we have covered in this book, it's a rope, not a snake. Ensure that every single journal point is seen at all three levels: waking, dream, and deep sleep. Let's begin with L21, the 21st point. It is a question asked by somebody who has been walking on the Dvaitam path, on the path of duality. He asks the question, the knowledge of the rope might remove the ignorance of the snake, but the knowledge of Brahman does not eliminate the body-mind world, does it? First of all, as an Advaitin, as somebody who walks the path of direct seeing, what should ring an alert bell for you? Eliminate. You're talking about eliminating. Yeah? He's imagining all his people will disappear, all objects of the world will disappear, all events will disappear. Yeah? He has gone into an imagination. Remember, when you were on the Dvaitam path, you also had certain imaginations like these. Yeah. So it's a very naive question, and it's good that it begins with a naive question. So he says intellectualization is insufficient to sublate superimposition. Basically, you cannot negate or cancel out superimposition just by intellectualizing. When I'm walking on that dark path on a dark night and I see the snake, can I intellectualize and remove the snake? No. Knowledge is required to remove lack of knowledge. Is this clear? There is lack of knowledge of the rope. You see it? All I needed was knowledge of the rope to remove the lack of knowledge of the rope. So for that, direct seeing is essential. Without direct seeing, it's not possible. I cannot intellectualize and remove the snake superimposed on the rope. Has this become very clear for you? Direct seeing emphasizes again and again that intellectualization should be kept aside. The most important thing is direct seeing of the truth. It is essential for self-knowledge, after which the body-mind world will continue, but are seen as an ineffective illusion. So, do you realize that superimpositions cannot be removed by intellectualization. Number one. Number two, my direct seeing in all three is important: waking, dream, and deep sleep. I cannot be happy with just waking and dream and say, okay, deep sleep, I'll intellectualize it. If I try to do that, I will always leave room for doubt. Do you see this? That is where doubt will always creep in. So intellectualization is borrowed knowledge from Ekta, is borrowed knowledge from Adi Shankaracharya, or borrowed knowledge from any other saint. It's not going to work. Direct seeing is my own self-knowledge. Clear? So direct seeing is essential. And how will you see it in your Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana? That's page number R21. Witnessing the waking, dreaming, and deep sleep state, all three, discloses that I am the witness, the fourth, that lies beyond. I am Turiya. Yeah? And as sadhana matures, many of you have reached there, it unveils that even the fourth, Turiya, the one that was witnessing the waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, the fourth, this also dissolves when there is nothing more to witness. Yeah. What does it dissolve into? Into Turiyatita, beyond the fourth. Turiyatita. And this is self-knowledge. This I cannot borrow from Ekta, I cannot borrow from Adi Shankaracharya, I cannot borrow from another saint or spiritual teacher. This self-knowledge must be seen by me directly. Only then the grasp of this body, mind, and its world will weaken. The waking body, mind, and the waking world, that grasp is extremely strong. Even if I let go of the grasp of the dream character in the dream world, it's very hard for me to weaken the grasp of the waking character in the waking world. For that, I have to reach that state where I recognize Turiya dissolving into Turiyatita. And Turiyatita is nothing but Brahman, another name for Brahman. Next question, page number L22. The snake is similar in form to the rope, so the error in perception is plausible. But Brahman and body-mind world are dissimilar. Yeah. There is no similarity in form. They are dissimilar, like light and darkness. How can superimposition occur between opposing forms? This was the question asked to Adi Shankaracharya. So what did he say? Similarity of form is not a prerequisite for superimposition. And that is an intellectual answer. But the person walking the path of direct seeing will say, oh, I see it in my Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana. I am the witness and I am formless. The formless witness assumes to be a subtle form as the dreamer in a dream world. Oh, it's my own direct experience. Formless and form. Superimposition happens instantly. Yeah, so I don't need to intellectualize. I see it in my Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana. And the same thing I see right now. There is the witness. There is this body-mind person. And this body-mind person's waking world. I recognize this witness is formless. I recognize this body-mind person has a gross form. And I see the superimposition between two dissimilar forms. Right here, right now. Oh, my own Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana reveals it. Yeah, somebody who has gone deeper can even see in deep sleep. I am closest to this formlessness of the witness. That has been my own taste, my own flavor of my own real nature. I see that formlessness and I see this form. I can see superimposition happening between two dissimilar forms. Somebody who's walking path of Advaitam will not have the fortune of seeing this in waking dream and deep sleep because he has not practiced Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana. But you have practiced Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana. So it is easy for you to understand and see the answer. Superimposition is possible between two dissimilar forms. The similar lines is the next question, L23. Brahman and body-mind world have distinct stands as the subject and object. How can superimposition occur between two opposing positions or two opposing stands? This is also your direct experience. Intellectually, the answer is superimposition flourishes between unique components, between unique stands. But in your Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana, how do you see it? Oh, the witness is the subject. And this body-mind person labeled as Ekta is actually the object. And I am so clear about this. Not only the body-mind person is the object, its world is also the object. So object here. I am the subject and I am all-pervading. The same thing I recognize in my dream. I am that witnessing field in which the dream character, who is the object, comes up. And I assume that is Ekta. There, superimposition has happened. And I assume this dream world is Ekta's dream world. Oh, this is happening to me. That is happening to me. This is the superimposition of subject and object. They are unique, but uniqueness of components like subject and object, in fact, favors superimposition. Without Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana, it is not possible to be convinced. Doubt will keep coming up, keep creeping up. So you must ensure that you see every single point clearly. Even in the deep sleep, I, the subject, am there. I am knowing the absence of the object. I am knowing the absence of the object. When I see it in all three and I'm very clear, then I don't need intellectualization at all. I don't need intellectual answers. I completely am anchored in direct seeing. Okay. Move on to L24. The questioner continues, all is Brahman. The body-mind world is not separate from Brahman. How can oneself be separated from one's own self in order to propel superimposition? Now, he has matured a little bit with intellectual answers. So he's saying, this is also Brahman, this body-mind person. This waking world is also Brahman. And I am that witnessing field, I am Brahman. All is one only. Then now how does Brahman split up into the subject and the object? How does Brahman split up into formlessness and form? And then only superimposition happens, no? So he's saying, how does this splitting up happen? So this is a very important answer. Again, intellectually, it is not satisfactory. Only in Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana you can see it. So the intellectual answer is, the knowledge I am is sufficient birthing ground for the confusion to arise. What am I? And what am I not? So basically he's saying Brahman is confused the moment it recognizes I am. And you recognize this in your Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana? Yeah. From the deep sleep nothingness, the I sense arises. What is the meaning of that? Nothingness knows I am. That is the meaning of I sense arising from the deep sleep nothingness. Suddenly there is that sense of I am. It is not a thought. It is not in words. It's just that sense of existing, the sense of being, the feeling of being alive or the feeling of being conscious. That is the I sense. That's it. There are no words. There is no I. There is no capital I there. There is no thought there. Just that sense of being. That is Brahman knowing it exists. I know that I am. Okay, these words are not there. Ekta is giving these words to the sense of existing. That's it. That sense of existing is sufficient birthing ground for confusion to arise. This knowledge triggers an inquiry. Okay, I am, but who am I? Do you get it? The yearning of the I projects an idea. Okay, am I this? That's how the dream character is developed. Okay, what is this dream character? Where is this dream character? That's how the dream world is developed. It all begins with that little inquisitiveness about that sense or that feeling of I am. From that feeling of I am, thoughts are produced. Dream character is a thought and dream world is a thought. You call it perception of sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, sensation, feeling. All of it is actually under one single umbrella, thought. When it's projecting subtle thoughts, we call it the dream character in a dream world. When it's not happy with the subtleness and it really wants more, who am I? Who am I? What am I? No, what is this? Then it grossifies the same subtle world and the same subtle character. And that grossification is this waker in a gross waking world. All confusion begins with one little thing. That sense of being. That sense of I am. That recognition, I know that I am. From there, confusion is born. That is why it is called the birthing ground. Most important journal point for you is this. Do I recognize that as the birthing ground? Has my recognition in Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana matured to that level yet where I see this? Clear? Till you don't see it, you must not accept it intellectually. This is not the path of intellectualization. You must attempt to see it in your Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana. Either the I coming out of the nothingness of deep sleep or the I dissolving back into the nothingness of deep sleep. Either way is fine. It has the same source. That from which it is born also is its burial ground. It dies there. L25. The questioner continues, if the not self is projected from the self, That means it is not unknown. How can superimposition occur without an unknown, without ignorance? Isn't it the ignorance of the rope that births the illusory snake? Yeah. I don't know the rope. It's too dark to see. I cannot see the rope. That is why the snake is there and the fear is there and the jumpiness is there. Do you get it? Ignorance of the rope births the snake. So he's saying ignorance is important. But if it is Brahman only projecting the waker and the waking world, then it is known. Brahman is not ignorant about it. It is known because Brahman is projecting. Adi Shankaracharya says partial ignorance is there. Partial ignorance is sufficient birthing ground for superimposition. This is the intellectual answer. Partial ignorance means what? The rope is unknown in the dark. Walking gladly in the dark, no moonlight, nothing. The rope is not known. It is unknown. But something is there. Partial ignorance. Do you get it? Something is there. I don't know it is a rope. That somethingness is the partial ignorance. Is the intellectual answer very clear? That partial ignorance births superimposition. From where? From my own fears, from my own memory of the snake. You remember how we did the mechanism? The samskara comes out and it births that particular illusion. So partial ignorance is sufficient to actually trigger that samskara of mine. It's called avidya samskara, the samskara of ignorance. Just partially I know there is something there in the dark, but I don't know what it is. That partial somethingness is the partial ignorance that Adi Shankaracharya talks about. Now, that is an intellectual answer. How do I see it in my Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana? The I sense, arisen from the nothingness, it seeks its identity. It knows I exist but doesn't know it is Brahman. So it is partial ignorance. How will you see it? You see very clearly from the deep sleep nothingness, suddenly there is this sense of being. You still don't know who you are, where you are, what you are. You've not projected a dream. Nothing has happened. Just the sense of existing has come up. That sense of existing itself is the partial somethingness in the dark. Something is there, but I don't know what is that. It is still dark. It is still just the deep sleep nothingness that is known, and out of that nothingness that I know I exist comes up. Not in words, just in a sense. But I don't know who I am. I don't know what I am. Partial somethingness, partial ignorance. Clear? It projects an idea of itself. It doesn't know whether this projection is real or it is not real. It does not know. Yeah? Dream character, dream ekta comes up, a dream world comes up. Most of the times I don't even know that I am that dream ekta. I have not labeled myself ekta in the dream. It's the waker ekta that says that was the dream ekta. Do you realize this? The dream ekta never calls herself by a name. In fact, the dream ekta can only see herself below the neck, cannot even see her face, and many times you cannot even sense below the neck. There is just that same I sense still struggling to find its identity. What am I? Who am I? Have you realized this? Many times, in fact, most of your dreams, you will not figure out the dream body because of this confusion. I know I exist, but I don't know what I am or who I am. That is why most of the times in a dream, I don't have a name, no nama, and I cannot recognize my form, no rupa. After I get out of the dream, come to the waker Ekta sees this form and assumes this form is there in the dream. Oh, in the dream it was this form. Now there is superimposition of the waker Ekta on the dream Ekta. In fact, it's not dream Ekta only, it is dream no nama no rupa, anamika. So there is superimposition of the waker Ekta on the dream anamika, the dream unknown. Have you recognized this level of superimposition yet? This is seen in the waking. After recognizing that in the dream there was no nama rupa, in the dream there was only a confused sense of I am, but I don't know what I am, where I am. That is why I project one dream, I'm not satisfied, again I project another dream, I'm not satisfied, another dream, I'm not satisfied. That is why I go from dream to dream to dream to dream. These are all projected ideas of myself. Again, where are they coming from? Remember the previous section? Mechanism from my samskara. The projection is born of my own impression, my own samskara. The beginningless samskara. Avidya is beginningless. That's why I don't know whether what I have projected is really me or not. It is projected by me, it is known, but it is not known whether it is truly me or it is not. That is why you constantly have a doubt. Do you realize this? As the waker, if you forget about the witness and you're constantly the waker is constantly confused. Is this right? Is this wrong? Should I do this? Should I not do this? Am I doing this? Am I not doing this? Is this decision right? Is that decision right? You are constantly in a state of turmoil. Do you realize this? When you are not witnessing it, when you have assumed to be the waker. This confusion is actually born in that first arising of the I sense from the deep sleep. That's why I say this is very important to see. Very important. If the other way has happened for you, much easier, where you recognize the waker collapse into the dreamer and the dreamer collapse into the I sense, which is standing for a little bit and has nothing, 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 and it collapses. Even this way, the collapsing is sufficient. You either see it arising or you see it collapsing. You recognize the source. You recognize the partial ignorance. You recognize I exist, but I don't know what am I. Who am I? You recognize the feverishness that develops from that not knowing, wanting to be something in the dream, be someone in the dream. You see, there is no name form. There is a constant struggle to get a name form, to attain a name form. Namarupa. And when that is not sufficiently satisfied in the dream, you are kicked out into the waking. The waking consciousness gives a little more illusory kind of satisfaction to that thirst for name and form. It's a temporary satisfaction. Little while you're happy. Oh, I possess this house. I am the owner of this. This is my body. I am this relationship. I am this authority. Little while there is pleasure in that. No discounting that pleasure. It is there. But it is only illusory because there is that momentary feeling of I am this, and then it is followed by the confusion, am I this really? Do you see it? That conviction of I am this is short-lived. Little projection saying, see, I am Ekta. Yeah, this is my house, this is my thing. Immediately the confusion comes up. Really, am I this? Really, is this mine? And that keeps you constantly turbulent in the waking state if you have not figured out that you are not this waker. The moment you figure out, oh, I am the witness of this waker, and this is only a projected, confused name and form, trying to satisfy my confusion. Oh, you give it up. Oh, it's an illusion. Just like a magic trick. You give up a magic trick. Okay, enough. I had enough fun. For a minute, I got enamored by the magician's little illusory trick. I enjoyed it for a minute, but now I see it. Right? Just that 1 minute of magic captures you. Is that 1 minute of I am this, and then it is the question or the confusion, really am I this? Start recognizing this in your waking. Today, intentionally, for a little while, don't take the stand of the witness. Intentionally become the person. And see, oh yes, I get confused in a minute. In a minute. Not even a minute it lasts. Then you will understand why pleasure in the world does not really satisfy you. It cannot. It cannot satisfy. There's a very higher level of seeing. It has to seep in from the eye rising from the deep sleep, recognizing its struggle in multiple dreams, its dissatisfaction, its not feeling enough. That feeling of feeling incomplete is very strong. That's why you go from one dream to the next, to the next, to the next, and you don't find your identity, and you want it to be even a little more gross name and form. That's how the waking comes. And then even in the waking, you become very clear, oh, it's only that 1 minute of pleasure where I feel, oh, I am this. This is mine. Oh, I am the doer of this. Oh, I am the experiencer of this. And next minute the question comes up, am I? Is it? And there, the castle shatters. Has this become very clear? This entire process needs to be seen. The entire process needs to be seen. Then you will understand, oh, partial ignorance births superimposition. Very clear? Yeah, so even if Brahman has projected something, Brahman has forgotten its formlessness. That is the issue. Brahman has forgotten itself. So forgetfulness of the self cannot be satisfied by waking world, ice cream and chocolate and relationships and money and friendships and name and fame. Are you seeing this? What is Brahman really looking for? Who or what am I? How are you trying to satisfy that inquiry, that thirst? By giving it name, fame, relationships, sex, money, friendship, love. No, these don't match. That is why the world is incapable of satisfying me. 25 is very clear. Move on to 26. The questioner asks, okay, to know that the snake is illusory, one must have seen a real snake before. So to know that this body, mind and its world is illusory, one must have seen a real body, mind before. Real. Yeah, very Advaitam question. He's saying, isn't it true? So Adi Shankaracharya says, for superimposition, a samskara or an impression is sufficient. A past encounter is not a mandatory requirement. Just an impression is sufficient. This is a very intellectual answer. Very difficult to grasp unless somebody sees it in their Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana. And what do you see in your Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana? The eye sense projects itself as the dream character. And that dream character is being chased by a ghost. A ghost has never been seen. Not in the waking, not in the dream, has never been seen. But you still project something that you have never seen before, that you have never encountered before. Correct? So this is possible. Why? Because of that impression of an unseen, unfamiliar, unknown entity. That is your main impression. You know you are, but you don't know who or what you are. That impression is the core impression of an unseen, unfamiliar, unknown entity. It's so deep-seated. That deep-seated impression is called samskara. And that is what births superimposition. That is what births superimposition. So having seen it before is not a prerequisite for superimposition. And this I recognize in my own Swapna Nidra Jnana Sadhana.